and another one done. So this month we read The World's First Love by, sorry, it's my baby. This month we read The World's First Love by Fulton J. Sheen, who's going to be beatified very soon. So that's exciting. If you're familiar with Bishop Sheen, a lot of it, if you've seen his stuff, like his Life is Worth Living segment online, or if you read his book, or if you've listened to his radio show, which is the same title, Life is Worth Living, or if you've read Life of Christ, etc., a lot of it has been, not to use, it's not in a negative way, been recycled. But it is a culmination of things that he has used. And what I like about how he writes is that he's very easy to understand. He is such a good apologist. He doesn't take it from a defensive standpoint. He's very kind in his approach, and it's not, we were talking about this in the book club, how it's not like, sometimes, Hans Urs von Balthasar is great, but sometimes you just want it to be explained in a really simple way. And that's what's great about Bishop Sheen. And that's why I think he was a success in his show, in his radio show, in his books, in his TV show, because he was such a good explainer, and he didn't make it too hard for simple people like me to understand. So this book, The World's First Love, is his love letter to Mary, and it's his way of explaining why she is such an important role and why we do come to her first. A lot of us come to her first. And each chapter, I feel like it's the first few chapters are for those who really have a hard time understanding Mary. Okay, Bella, I know. For those of you, just so you know, her name is Mary, named after Mary. The beginning of the book is definitely for those who have a very difficult time understanding who Mary is and her role, and why she is so important. And then each chapter goes deeper and deeper and deeper, because it ends with the 7 sorrows of Mary and Jesus. And I think to be able to understand that, you kind of have to already know Mary. So each chapter helps you understand her more and more and more, depending on where you are in your journey with Mary. There are 3 chapters that really stood out to me. One was a chapter about the universality of the church, how everybody comes, there's some sort of mother figure, and how the church is universal, because Bishop Sheen does talk about how there were mother figures in India and in Japan and in China, etc. And what it is, it's the world's way of trying to get closer to God. And the fulfillment of that desire of having this mother is when these cultures meet Christianity. All religions had this understanding that hola. Hi. Hello, and we are already in June, halfway through the year. I can't believe it. If you'd like to join me, this month we are reading In This House of Brede by Rumer Godden. It's about a woman who leaves her career, her very successful career, to become a Benedictine nun. And yeah, it kind of goes through what nuns really live through, because Rumer Godden went to a Benedictine monastery to do research on this, and apparently it's very accurate. Anyway, if you'd like to read with me, there is a description below for the Telegram group that you can join, where we share favorite passages, insights, etc., and also where we meet at the end of the month to talk about the book. There's also a link to my Substack with all the books that we're reading for the rest of the year. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to have you. And now let's get back to the book review. In the beginning, it's more general, how we have this in the world today. We have this kind of psychosis, is how he put it. We have this problem with God, and how we want to put ourselves as gods. And so in doing that, we put God aside, we take him away, but then in doing so, we find out how limited we are in our own power, in ourselves. And so we are in this psychosis of living a life that is just for our immediate desires, carnal desires, etc. Oh, the chapter on men and women, chapter 12. It's called Man and Woman. And there it explains the vital role that Mary plays, also Joseph, and how Mary is the fulfillment of woman. Every man is looking for his Mary, and every woman is trying to become Mary. And this is, if we want to understand what it means to be a woman, we have to look to her, because she was the perfect woman. In the beginning, it talks about how God created Mary, and how he must have really thought about it. And if you were to create your perfect woman, you would have taken the time to, there would be things about your own mother or your wife that you would want to change. But God wanted a perfect vessel for a mother. Huh? That's right. And so when Mary was created in his mind, he made her perfect. And he also explains how she is immaculately conceived. The other chapter I really liked was chapter 18, Roses and Prayers, and that's about the rosary. And he gives us wonderful explanation of what it is, and also counter arguments for those who don't understand the rosary, who are against the rosary. One counter argument that we hear all the time as Catholics is like, why would you pray the same thing over and over and over again? And then he gives this example of a woman that he had known, that he met, and she said the same thing to him, like, why are you praying the rosary? It's the same words over and over and over again. And he tells her, well, that is your fiancé or your husband, right? When's the last time he said, I love you? And she said, oh, like an hour ago. Okay, was that the first and only time? No, he said it to me an hour before that. Okay, so that was the first and only time. And she said, no, he basically says it to me like every day, multiple times a day. And that's exactly what the rosary is. Every time you say a Hail Mary, a Pater Noster, and Our Father, each time that you say it is different. It's just like when you are talking to your children or to your significant other, your husband or your wife. Every time you tell them I love you, or every time you tell them oh, you're such a good boy, or you're such a great kid, there's a difference in nuance in how you feel and your understanding of how they are. And so each Hail Mary is different. It's not just, the same prayer over and over again, just because the intent is different. And also when you are, for example, when I am in whenever I'm scared or if I'm stressed or what have you, and my mind cannot create a prayer, I always go back to a Hail Mary, Our Father, etc. The prayers that I already know, because my mind, since I'm so preoccupied with this thing that's stressing me out, I just go straight to the prayer I know, and that helps me get back to God. And that's his main thesis, is that everything that our mother does, our mother is, helps us get closer to God. And that's one way is through the rosary, right? There's also a wonderful chapter about virgins and why that is another great love. But I think I will let you read it. And the last one is Mary and the Sword. It talks about her 7 sorrows, how it explains also how another one. It explains as well how Mary suffered alongside Jesus, in the sense that yes, God created Mary, But through her vessel, right, through her own body, she did form the body of Jesus. And so every time he shed his blood, technically she also shed hers. A part of her was also suffering. And so they were that close. They were that close because a part of her, being his mother, his physical mother, parts of her were also shed. And it goes greatly into the meditating on how, for example, okay, the first fiat, right? Or when she said yes, when she said, let it be done to me according to thy will. She said yes to God. And in saying yes, she said yes to all his sufferings. And she knew that he came into the world to die. That was his purpose. And so he goes through this meditation on, like, can you imagine being Mary and knowing that your child one day will die in the most horrible way, and he's God. And so maybe one day Jesus was, in his youth, he was, I don't know, I think he said something about he had his hands outstretched like this, just living life, basking in the glory of nature, what have you, with his arms out in a cross. And maybe that probably triggered something in Mary's mind of his end. Every time, because Joseph was a carpenter and Jesus became a carpenter, every nail, every piece of wood probably was a reminder to Mary that one day those same materials will be used for the murder of her son, basically. So it goes deeply into that. And also it goes to the seven sorrows of Mary, how that ties in with Jesus, etc. It really is a great kind of like a staircase. Every single chapter helps you understand Mary even more. For me, it's my favorite Fulton Sheen book so far, because it has brought me closer to understanding her son even more. And so for those of you who have trouble understanding Mary or would like to know her more, I definitely recommend this. Yes, you do. I know. I definitely recommend this book. It's super easy to read, but I think each chapter deserves some meditation, especially for the later ones, like the Seven Sorrows, the virginity part. That stuff needs time, but I definitely recommend it. So let me know in the comments if you have read this book, if you'd like to. Is there something about Mary that you just don't quite understand, that you'd like to understand? Are you still hungry? And I shall see you in the next one.